on Saturday night at the Aviva Stadium, an empty Aviva Stadium with very little atmosphere in it. Ireland suffered one of the worst defeats in our history in a World Cup qualifier against Luxembourg. Luxembourg have been traditionally regarded as minnows and as fodder for the stronger teams, but they have improved significantly if you look at the results over the past couple of years. But they were the better team on the night, and they beat Ireland 1-0, and it is the 10th game in Stephen Kenny's reign as head coach. We've lost 6, we've drawn 4, we've scored 3 goals and conceded 11. So it was a bad night, and it followed something a bit more promising against Serbia away, where we lost 3-2. To discuss where Irish soccer is now, and to put it in perspective, really, is one of the greatest players this island has ever produced, one of the best thinkers about the game anywhere has ever produced, and it's John Giles, of course. John, we were watching this on Saturday night. We talked a bit during the game. It was a bad night for Ireland, and for Stephen Kenny as well. But if we start our analysis with Saturday night and the team that Stephen had to work with, we'd be making a big mistake. What's happening to Irish soccer now didn't start on Saturday night. It started a long time ago. And I want to ask you about the past, where we were when we were much better off than we are now in terms of players.
Well, you can't do it without the players, Eamon, as we know.
Yes.
And I think Stephen is in a difficult situation because he doesn't actually have the players, Eamon, or the quality of players that we've had in the past.
Yeah.
I've written down a list of players, Eamon, just from my time, right?
Yeah.
That were playing in Joe Carlin, United, Noel Cantwell, West Ham, Charlie Hurley, Sunderland, Pat Sayward, Villa, Georgie Cummins, Luton, Finan Fagan, City, Dermot Curtis, Ipswich, Joe Haverty, Arsenal, Mick McCarr, Blackburn, and a lot of these teams were in the first division. Now, again, it just to make a recent analysis of the Irish team at the back and the teams they're playing for against Luxembourg game.
Yeah.
The goalkeeper's out on loan, I know, but he's a Manchester City goal, but I don't know who he's playing.
He's at Rochdale.
Rochdale.
Yes.
Right? And O'Shea, Clark, Stevens they're 3 of the back 5.
Yeah.
Are all playing for teams that are really struggling in the Premiership.
And they're in the bottom 3 or thereabouts.
Yes. We have Cullen and Knight, Brown, Collins, Robinson, none of them in the Premiership.
Yep.
Right. So there's been a decline. As you know, and again, I'm going back a long time. In my time, I had Liam Brady, David O'Leary, Frank Stapleton, Mick Martin, Steve Highway, Mark Lawrenson, Paddy Mulligan, Tony Dunn.
Don Givens.
And Don Givens.
Yeah.
And then going to Jack, Roy Keane, Quinn, Townsend, Whelan, Bobby Keane, Duff, McGrath, Staunton, Kelly, Houghton. These were, for some reason or other, we don't know what I don't know what it is, that we're definitely not producing the players that we produced them in previous times.
Yes.
So I feel sorry for Stephen Kenny in that respect. But having said that, on paper, we would have expected and did expect to do better than we did against Luxembourg.
Yes, but the point, I think, first of all, you're living in England, John. I should tell you that there have been a few of the media calling for Stephen's head, but broadly speaking, not. People are writing about the game understand the point, and the FAI yesterday, to their credit, the chairman of the FAI came out and gave Stephen a vote of confidence, which is very commendable. And even there was even talk of giving him a new contract. So the old knee-jerk thing of get rid of the coach I think that era might pass because I think people understand the point, and the way you made it there, talking about all those fantastic players that we used to have and contrasting them to the players we have now, it makes it very easy to understand how we're struggling. Now, the next question, John, is, and here is a key fact in all of this. Stephen, the other coaches like Trapattoni and Martin O'Neill, to take two examples, and indeed Jack, despite the players he had, their reaction to the squad of Irish players they find themselves managing, particularly in O'Neill's case recently, and even he had much better players to choose from. Their reaction was to play very tight, give very few goals away, play a long ball game on the whole, not encourage our players to pass the ball and to be pressing opponents. And that was how they eked out results, maybe a draw here, goal from a set piece. It was kind of, in its own way, it was commendable, but it wasn't getting us anywhere. Stephen wants to do something. He's come in with probably the worst squad of players we've ever had, and he wants to play the way the game should be played, is being played almost everywhere now. That is a passing game, pressing game, a game without fear. So it's very hard what he's attempted to do, but he has shown some considerable courage in trying to do it.
Yeah, well, that's a big question there, Eamon.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go back to Jack, I didn't agree with the way he played. I don't think you did.
No.
But he was successful, Eamon, at
Yes.
what he did.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any one way of playing football. I don't believe in an attractive way of playing football.
Right.
You have to be good and winning matches.
And playing to the strengths of the players you've got.
Exactly. Or playing to a strength that wins your matches.
Yeah.
There is no one way of winning matches, as we know, Eamon. We can look back over the years and some teams play in a way that's attractive to us. But if you get a team like that's not playing attractive football, like Jack didn't play attractive football, Eamon, in what we agreed with.
No.
But he was successful.
Yeah.
And we qualified for major competitions.
Yeah.
So in Trapattoni's case, he got us to a major competition as well. So he did. So that's being practical.
Yes.
Now, if that is the case, then we'd have to look at Stephen and say, is he being practical?
Right.
So like with what he has, I mean, we've gone through their players in the past that teams had, and they were very, very good players. Whatever way they wanted them to play, you get good players, Eamon, and the good players are good players when they get out on the pitch. They're guided by the manager and what they want to do, but they're able to do it.
Yeah.
And now, if you get a team like the Stephen wants them to be attractive, are they able to do it? I don't think so.
No, they're not, clearly, and there's a couple
But
of
he
things.
doesn't have the players, to be fair to him, Eamon. Reading out the list of players that we've seen in the past that I had when I was a manager and Jack had when he was a manager, like these were top-class players that we don't have today. I mean, if you look at the list of players that Jack had, Keane, Quinn, Winston, Robbie Keane, Duff, they'd all be in the team.
Yes.
Brilliant players. But Stephen doesn't have those players.
So the one big question, John, is why, and it is probably the biggest question, really, why are we not producing players anymore? That is a question.
I'll just get on to that, Emma. But what I'd say with Stephen, I think it's right to give him an extension or not to sack him at this particular time.
Yes.
I think he does need more time to do what needs to be done and get the best out of what he believes to be the best. So definitely I would agree with him giving him the extension. Whether to give him a new contract or not is another matter. And I just say that, Eamon. Now, to get on to the question you asked now, why? Well, that's the $64 million question, Eamon.
Yeah.
What's happened to the players? Why are we not producing them? My take on it, and I'll only give you my take on it, is that times have changed a lot in Ireland in the social sense, the same as other countries. That now when you were a kid, you were playing out in the street. When I was a kid, I'm a bit older than you, was playing out in the street, and loads of other kids were playing out in the street, learning their trade, Eamon, in a basic way.
Yeah.
That's not there now.
No.
We don't have that now.
No.
I know from my kids and my grandkids that, first of all, it's not safe to play out in the streets.
Yes.
It's just not allowed. In my day in Norman Square, there were no cars. You could play in Norman Square all day. No cars in the way. Now they can't do it. So I know for my own sake and your sake, you learned the basics of the game when you were a kid.
Yes.
I know I did in Norman Square, just playing football for fun. So that's one thing.
And what's the sign up in Norman Square right now?
Well, there's two signs up. The council agreed to put a plaque there for me.
Yeah.
About 10 years ago, and just up from the back, no football allowed.
So that's a clue in itself. The point about a production line of players, I mean, a lot has changed, and the problems we have, I think, go back to schoolboy level, John. The League of Ireland now are allowed to take the best players from their schoolboy clubs, age 13, and give them to League of Ireland clubs. Now, that's madness, John. It's absolutely bonkers. I don't know if you agree or not, but the League of Ireland clubs, we know what they're like. They're, let's say, volatile and unstable. But taking a lad in a good schoolboy team out of it, the best players, that's disaster. Because why would men go out? Why would lads go out and play if they thought they couldn't make progress as a group right up to under 17 or under 15, whatever?
Well, if you look back at the history of our game and some of the players I mentioned there, they all came from schoolboy football.
Yes.
It was schoolboy football that produced them to go on to the League of Ireland clubs.
Yes.
That's the way it works. So if I was putting money into football, it'd be at the schoolboy level.
Yes.
To do it.
Yeah.
So that'd be I think that'd be the right thing to do, to go back to the old days where they do it. Another thing with I mean, if you look, sorry, Eamon, to get a bit serious here, to look at the world generally, Scotland, England, and they don't produce as many players as they used to.
No, they don't.
Right? Because like in my day, and again going back a long time, there was no further education for a start.
Yes.
Right. Now, I was no good at school, Eamon. I went away when I was 15.
Yeah.
I was no good at school anyway. But I know for a fact, as a parent, I'd say there's been quite a few schoolboy lads who are very, very prominent, very good, very promising.
Yeah.
That the parents would say, no, you can't go until you do your leaving.
Yeah.
You know, and now obviously things socially, and I don't want to be too serious, have got better and better in most of the countries, including Ireland.
Yes.
So I think he's got less. I know I was going to leave school when I was 14, 15. I was lucky enough, I was good enough to go to Manchester United. I was no good at school anyway. But my parents wouldn't have been able to afford me for further education.
No.
That has changed today. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
And for parents' sake, it's great. But I went to England when I was 15. You went when you were 15. I was playing in the Irish team when I was 18.
Yeah.
Now, if I'd have been any good at school, and my parents had the resources to keep me there, I wouldn't have gone to England till I was 18.
No, that's right. And of course, the same is true, you know, of others who of your era, and indeed a bit later. I mean, Liam Brady went away young. Frank Stapleton, David Leary, they all went to Arsenal together.
Yes.
The question of, you know, Stephen Kenny's future. A very welcome statement from the FAI yesterday, and also one or two of the sports writers that you'd respect they're not looking for Stephen's head. They're not looking for a knee-jerk reaction. They understand. I mean, quite apart from the dearth of real talent in the squad, there's the injuries and withdrawals and COVID that he's had to suffer, as well as the general sort of levelling down of ability. I mean, Adam Ida, who's a very promising young centre forward that I know Stephen thinks highly of and did really well for him in the under-21s. Aaron Connolly, he's playing Premier League football, but he's had a bad season with injuries at Brighton. So you could tweak it a bit if he gets some of those players back. but there's a deeper malaise that needs to be addressed. I mean, and I think Stephen is the person to do that, as well as the main job. For example, we've no more international matches now until September.
Yeah.
So there's 6 months. There's a lot of work Stephen Kenny and his team can do in that 6 month period. And if the FAI, I want to put this to you, there needs to be an investigation, an examination of what has gone wrong with the production line that produced players. England are producing very, very good players, John. Mason Mount scored yesterday. Harry Kane. Those academies are producing players. They're not the same as playing on the street, but they are producing players in England. You can see it no matter where you look. And they're producing quality players. Trent Alexander-Arnold would be a good example. At Liverpool, you can't get in the England squad, incidentally. Now, so we've got to have... Would you agree that we need to have a look at the game and find out where we can make improvements?
Well, there's quite a few issues, you're mentioning there. I mean, the thing is with England have a population, of about 40 million, I think, is it?
Yes.
Or 50 million.
Yeah, right. it's 60, actually.
Okay, 60 million. We have a population of 4.5 million, So things have gone down. I think the standard of schoolboy football and all the various things that producing players have declined. But the decline is more serious for us.
Yes.
Because we've only got 4.5 million people anyway.
Yeah.
Right. In England, they've got 60 million. Always had better resources than we had for actually producing players.
Yeah.
But we produced our fair share. But I think there's a reduction in players actually even coming into English football, schoolboy football.
Yeah. But
they haven't much more than we have and much more than other countries because they're bigger. Look at Scotland, for example, now. Like in our day with Scotland in 1958, they were in the World Cup quarterfinals.
Yes. Yeah.
They hardly have a player now, Scotland, in my opinion, compared to what they had.
Yes.
So all the smaller countries are definitely on the decline in producing players. Where England also, I think, are on a decline, but they can produce much better than we can. And I think also, if you look at the best team players in the world, most of them are coming from, Brazil, Argentina, and that, where they're still relatively poor in relation to us.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, I don't want to be too deep, but now in Stephen's case, Stephen can only do with what he has.
Yeah.
Right. Now, I agree that I think Stephen would know the schoolboy football, and I think he'd be well employed for us to have an influence on what's happening at that level.
Yeah.
But that's another issue again. I mean, what we're talking about now mostly is what is Stephen going to do at the level that we're at, which is the highest level with the international team. And I think Stephen has good ideas, from what I know of him, very good ideas in what he wants the team to do. Now, what I'd be a bit worried about is, does he have the players to do what's needed for him, for what he thinks is needed to do?
Yes, to play the style of football.
Then you have to be practical and say, no, I don't have the players to do what I would want them to do, so this is what we have to do.
Right, there's two jobs that need to be done. One is managing, coaching the national team as it is, with the players in the squad now, and getting the best out of them.
Yes.
The other job is to look at the structure of underage football, particularly the schoolboy leagues where the talent is produced, and see if there's something fundamentally wrong, which I believe there is, and put that right.
Yes, so that's exactly right. They're two different jobs, I mean. But I agree with you entirely. The job at schoolboy level needs to be done. At the moment, obviously, people don't see that they're not as prominent in the papers as the schoolboy associations, I mean, as the international team is.
Yeah.
As well. So I would agree. I think Stephen should know, and I would certainly be guided by him at what needs to be done at schoolboy level.
Yes.
Right. That's one issue. The next issue is the international team, which is obviously more prominent in the papers and everything else of what's going on. So I think Stephen definitely has ideas on the game that he needs to, that he wants to play. And then you'd have to ask the question, is the ideas, when you go back to Jack Charlton and the Italian manager that we had, Eamon, I'd say you and I wouldn't agree with what they were doing.
No.
But they were successful in what they were doing.
Yeah.
Right? Now, what we have to get is Stephen doing the job at schoolboy level, which we believe he'd be the right man to do. But at the same time, which is just as important to the immediate future, is to get the international team, getting the best out of the international team that he can.
Well, what's hindered greatly in that effort, John, he's been in the job a year. What's hindered him greatly are the injuries, the unavailability of his better players. Like, for example, these two games we've just played, Darren Randolph and Caoimhín Kelleher, our two first-choice goalkeepers, missing. I can't remember a time when that ever happened before. He's cursed. Then he gave a young lad, Travers, a goal last week. He didn't do very well. Now, the lad Gavin Bazunu, who came in last night, he was very, very, very impressive. He stamped his authority on the whole penalty area. He was telling people where to go. He was pushing them around the way a really good goalkeeper did. He's only a kid, but he was most impressive. And he led me to the conclusion, John, that when they were in training camp before these two games, somebody should have tested the keepers available. And if they did that properly, this lad, Gavin Bazumu, would have been a standout. It didn't happen, and I'd be critical of Stephen for that. The other thing, of course, and I want to ask you about this, Seamus Coleman playing in a back three is, in my view, wrong. Because, of course, he's a top defender and he's a top man, but you lose him in the opposition's half, where he's frequently, for Everton, for Ireland, prepared to raid down that flank. And in doing that, he poses a threat to the opposition, but he's there if the move breaks down to get tight and get the ball back. Now, I don't think the effort to accommodate Matt Doherty and Seamus is wise.
No, well, you have to go back to what the way that Stephen wants the game to be played, Eamon. Now, if you go back to the start, I mean, when Stephen first took over, actually, the first thing he did was leave Seamus Coleman out.
Yeah, which was bad.
Out of the team. Yeah, right, and put Doherty in there.
Yeah,
because I think he had his ideals of playing football.
Yeah,
that Doherty was a fullback that gets forward better, plays good ball, and trying to get you a goal. And I think that's where Stephen is coming from.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's, and I don't want to be critical of Stephen even, I don't think that was realistic, Eamon.
No.
Because, under Mick McCarthy, the back five in the international team was by far the strongest part of the team. I think they only conceded 5 goals in 8 matches.
Yeah.
And when Stephen came in, he left Coleman out to put Doherty in, who looks the more attractive player.
Yeah.
Now, he hasn't. I don't think he's done that since, but he's certainly trying to accommodate Coleman and Doherty in the team, because I think he honestly believes this is the way football should be played. Now, football, what matters in football is results, Eamon. So what Stephen has to do is look at the whole situation now. I would definitely leave him there, look at the whole situation now and see, this is the way I want to play, but is it practical?
Yeah.
It has to be practical, and you have to win matches with doing it. So he's had, 9 or 10 matches now, so he's had a good look at it. I think it's a few months before we play again.
It's 6 months, John. We play again in September, and it's not an easy task. We play Portugal away.
Yeah.
And I think then we play Serbia at home. It's not people are saying we can't qualify for the World Cup.
No,
but actually, if we beat Serbia, we could finish second. Now, I'm sure. Did you see the Ronaldo incident?
Was that the penalty?
No, he scored.
No.
And the ball went over the line.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Now, that would have been Portugal winning in Serbia, which would have suited us down to the ground.
Yeah.
But we're not dead yet, and there's a lot.
I mean, there's a long way to go yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a long way to go yet. But I'm only talking from Steve, looking from the outside, from Stephen's point of view, that the 10 matches he's had, there's a lot to be learned from it.
Yeah.
And I think the first thing that you have to learn is to be practical, because we all want the game to be played in an attractive way and doing this and that. Have you got the players to do it? Well, we haven't. So Stephen has to look at it and say, right, we're not going to be successful doing it that way. What else can we do? So he has to find a way in between now, and not find a way, but say, well, I didn't do this right, I didn't do that right, and to put it right. So I think that the FA have done the right thing in giving him an opportunity to look at the matches that he's played.
Yeah. And
in my opinion, maybe be a lot more practical in what we need to do in the future matches.
Right. One issue, I'm sure many fans will be asking the same question, and it's my question to you. I would have played, I would have started Robbie Brady, James McLean, and I would have had Shane Dunphy. He's having a bad time at Celtic, but he's a goal threat. He's a very experienced player, and he would have had a good partnership with either O'Shea or Clark. And he would have made a difference. So I wonder what you think about that.
Well, we don't know.
I know we don't know, John, but
I know. I mean, I would have my choice of team, but that's only our personal view on it.
Yeah, well, my view is informed by this, John. I think if you play a lot of young players and you put them all in at once, it's a mistake. You need experience. And you need the experience that McLean, Brady, Duffy have. If you put all these lads, Knight, who's a good player from Derby County, Cullen, Brown, Collins, Robinson, you can have too many inexperienced young players in an international team, indeed in any team. Would you agree with that?
No, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
But like if I could say, well, look, this is what I think we should do. But our team never gets on the pitch. You know what I mean? And I understand everybody has an opinion on it.
But that's what people want. They want to hear what you think, because you are.
I'll give you my opinion, Eamon, for what it's worth, and obviously I don't have to depend on results. I think with what we have in the way that Stephen wants the game to play, you need really good, creative midfield players.
Yes.
I don't think we've got them.
Right.
So what I would do anyway, this is my take on it, I would look at that and be practical and say, well, it's no point in trying to get them to do something they can't do. So I'll have to try something that wouldn't be orthodox, right, in the players that he picks in the middle of the field, okay? And I would go back, I don't know whether we've spoken this before, I would go back to Notts Forest when Clough won the league and 2 Champions League. He had Boyer, a lad called Boyer, and the other lad in midfield, I can't think of his name at the moment, who were average midfield players, Eamon.
Yeah.
They weren't creative. But what he did have, he had a John Robertson on the left wing, who was a great player.
Yes.
And he had a very good player, Martin O'Neill, on the right wing.
Yeah.
So when these lads got the ball, they weren't called on to be creative.
This is the midfield players, yeah.
Yeah, get it and give it to Martin O'Neill or Roberts, whoever's winning, and let them get on with it, Eamon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And get the fullbacks then overlapping and getting on with it from there.
Yeah.
What I would do with the Irish, which I would try, I would get Horgan on the right, or O'Dowda, and McLean on the left,
right,
and keep them wide,
right,
yeah. And I would have any midfield player, whether it be Robbie Brady, Arthur. When you get the ball, you don't have to be too quick. Get it out to them, and then we're on our way. In other words, we're getting from back to front,
right.
That's what I would try with those players, and 2 lads up front from there. Because when the ball's on the opposite side of the field, to say from Horgan's place, he can tuck in, Eamon, and make himself into a midfield player, as Robertson did. And that's why, because it's no good looking for something that you haven't got.
Yes.
In other words, you look at it, we're looking for creative players, right, in the middle of the field. Brady is probably our most creative player.
Yeah. this lad Knight is a very good player, John. He's played for Derby County. Wayne Rooney made him captain when he took over. He's 20 years of age. He didn't stand out the other night, but he's a worker. And the last time I saw him playing one of the friendlies, he did stand out. He's a very good player, very good young player.
Yeah, is he good enough to be creative enough in that particular team, Eamon?
I don't think so.
What I'm saying I would do, because we don't see it, I don't have to do it. I'm only giving you this would be, if I had that group of players, that's what I would do. But I'm not the manager. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
But I think we don't have creative enough players to do what Stephen wants to do, what I think he wants to do anyway.
Okay, John, I just have one final question for you. John, if you were the coach, the head coach, or the manager of the Irish team, would I be sitting on the bench alongside you during the games?
Yeah.
Would you be listening to my prompts?
Probably not. I did, to be honest, and I'm a bit big-headed like that. I very, very seldom listen to anybody's prompts.
Yeah, we know that.
Quite honest, because you have to blame what you're doing. Obviously, after the match, I would discuss things with you or any other people. I would discuss them, but you have to make up your own mind. I mean, you really have to be. This is what I want to do, and this is what I'm going to do.
Right, and that's
now. I would listen. I would listen to a lot of people.
Yes.
There's no doubt about that. Nobody knows, but I think in management or in coaching a team, you have to be very, very confident that this is what I want to do, because everybody has different ideas about football. I mean,
yes,
everybody. And I'm talking today. I mean, I'm only telling you what I would do, and I don't have to do it.
No.
If I was looking at the league, the players I had at my disposal, that's what I would certainly try to do.
Okay, John. As always, it's great to talk to you, and I know exactly what you'd do with me if you were the manager of the Irish team. So thanks for joining us, and we can both say this with conviction, John. Stephen Kenny should keep his job.
Yes.
Be given the contract extension he needs, and perhaps a bit more responsibility for what's happening at the grassroots of the game.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that entirely. I think Stephen is a good lad. I'd love to see him doing well, Eamon, and I think he deserves an opportunity to do that.
So do I, and let's hope he gets it. The signs are good at the moment. John, thank you very much indeed.